In response to the national state of emergency now in place regarding COVID-19, or the coronavirus, North Carolina's courthouses are operating under a public health emergency policy. This may affect the scheduling of court cases, your ability to file documents in person, and your access to the court buildings. Please contact your local court for the most updated information. The video you are about to see is a dramatization only, and should not be used to replace legal advice. In the video you will see a dispute between a landlord and a tenant, involving the refund of a security deposit. The tenant is seeking a refund of a deposit and the landlord is alleging damages. Please note that even if your case appears to be similar, it may not result in the same outcome. The magistrate will call your case by calling your name. You must be present and on time or your case will be dismissed. The plaintiff or the person who filed the action will go first.
Ms. Smith, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, I am.
Well, let's first have you sworn. Mr. Jones, there is a Bible on your desk. Would you give it to Ms. Smith, please? And you may sit down. Put your right hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the testimony you're going to give today is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Well, go ahead.
October of last year, I moved and I rented a home from this landlord, Mr. Jones. I moved out in March of this year. I paid a $700 security deposit and he hasn't returned it to me.
She broke the front door and then I had to get it repaired after she moved.
Mr. Jones, this is Ms. Smith's time to testify. You will have a chance later on.
Like I said, I paid a security deposit of $700. I have a copy of my receipt and I have a copy of my lease here.
Okay. Ms. Smith, you want to show that to Mr. Jones before you show it to me?
Sure.
Do you have extra copies, Ms.?
I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay.
All right.
Would you like me to bring it to you now?
Yes, please.
Any documents presented to the court must be shown to the other side and to the magistrate. We recommend that you bring extra copies that you can give to the other side, and the magistrate.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'll keep these.
I moved out at the end of March 29th. I have a receipt that shows I paid my rent for the entire month, so I don't owe any rent. I then wrote him a letter asking for my security deposit back, which he's ignored. I have a copy of my March rent and of my letter requesting my security deposit.
Well, Ms. Smith, I want you to show that the letter and the receipt to Mr. Jones. And then you should show it to me. I suppose you want me to see them too.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. I'll keep these. Mr. Jones, do you have any questions for Ms. Smith?
She did not pay for the damaged door.
Mr. Jones, at this time, you're going to ask her questions. You will have a chance to testify later on. So just ask her questions. Do you have any questions?
No.
Ms. Smith, do you have anything else to offer?
I do. I took pictures on the day I moved out. I moved out on a Friday, and he told me to leave the key on the counter. Right before I left, I got my neighbor, and we took pictures of the door, the carpet, everything, because I didn't trust him, and I thought he'd do this.
Do you have the pictures?
I do.
You want again to show them to Mr. Jones and then to me? Okay, I see. That's the door, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Smith. Do you have any objections, Mr. Mr.
Well, I don't
Jones?
know when the pictures were taken.
So that's your objection?
Yes, I want to know when the pictures were taken.
I took the pictures on March 29th. There's a time date stamp on my phone, and my neighbor Alice Rowe was with me when I took the pictures.
Ms. Smith, I am going to let you use the phone to show the date, but remember that I prefer to have anything printed and not use the phones in the courtroom.
Yes, Your Honor.
So you may now get up and show it to Mr. Jones, the text or the picture you have on the phone.
I also have a receipt for $125 for the carpet cleaning.
Okay, well, go ahead and show both to Mr. Jones. And then you should show it to me. I suppose you want me to see them too.
All right.
And those are the same pictures?
Yes.
Okay, where's the date? I see.
Date and time.
Thank you, Ms. Smith.
The use of a cell phone to show pictures, texts, or emails is generally not recommended. It is better to have printed copies of emails, texts, and pictures. Be prepared to also be able to show the date when pictures were taken or emails were sent. You may also need to show who sent you the email to confirm that it is your landlord.
Anything else, Ms. Smith?
I'd like for my neighbor Alice Rowe to testify.
That's fine, Ms. Smith. We'll call Ms. Rowe in a moment. But Mr. Jones, do you have any other questions for Ms. Smith?
Yes, what about the trash you left on the front porch?
I didn't leave any trash on the front porch. I had one old sofa. I put a note on it saying it's free to anyone who wants to take it. That's what everyone in the neighborhood does. I drove back a few days later and it was gone.
Well, it was gone because I took it to the dump.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Jones. At this time, all you're going to do is ask questions, wait for an answer, and you ask another question. That information you gave us, you can give it to us later on when you testify. Do you have any other questions? Just
No.
questions.
No.
So now we'll call Mrs. Rowe to the stand. Is it Mrs. Rowe or Miss Rowe?
Mrs. Rowe.
Mrs. Rowe. Ms. Rose, we need to swear you. Will you put your right hand on the Bible, please? Ms. Rose, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Smith, you can proceed asking questions to your witness.
Miss Rowe, do you remember what we did on March 29th at the house I rented right next door to you?
Yes, I came over and I helped you clean. The house was perfect. There were no marks on the carpet anywhere. It looked great. And I helped you take those pictures that you showed earlier.
Was there any damage to a door?
Absolutely not. None at all. I cleaned the door myself and helped take the pictures. There was no damage.
And what about the carpet?
So the living room and the dining room in the house had carpet. And that carpet has been there for at least 10 years. I've lived there next door. I've been in the house many times, and that's the same carpet. And there was no damage to it. You know, it was a little bit worn maybe by the entry where, you know, the entrance to the house is, but there were no stains, no marks on the carpet anywhere.
Mr. Jones, do you have any questions for Ms. Rowe?
Well, I don't know where you're coming from. All you've been doing is complaining about the neighbors. They don't keep the place up.
Mr. Jones, one more time I tell you, this is your time to ask questions, not to test.
But she's lying. I'm
not
telling you,
lying.
she's lying.
Mr. Jones, I'm going to say it just one more time. And if I have to say it again, I may find you in contempt. Just ask questions. Do you have any other questions?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Jones, I'll take into consideration that you're trying to tell us that this witness is biased. You can proceed now, Mr. Jones, to testify. Are you finished, Ms. Smith, with this witness?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Rosen, it appears we do not need any more testimony. You're excused. Mr. Jones, now is your turn to testify. And before you do that, I want to swear you in. So please put your right hand on the Bible Mr. Jones, do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
So please go ahead.
I rented this house to Keisha for $700. I could have rented it for double. She complained all the time. I had to make thousands of dollars of repairs while she was there. After she left, I spent over another $1,000 to make repairs. I replaced the carpet. Cost me $1,025. I have a receipt. She left the refrigerator filthy, and then I had to take the trash to the dump. She owes me money. She owes me $400.
Okay. Mr. Jones, do you have the receipt with you?
Yes, I do.
Would you please show it to Ms. Smith? Thank you, Mr. Jones. I'll keep this. Mr. Jones, is that all you have to offer?
Yes.
Now, Ms. Smith, it's your turn to ask questions to Mr. Jones.
That carpet was at least 10 years old, right?
I don't know. It's been there for some time.
This has been a rental home for the last 10 years also, right?
It's been a rental home for as long as I've owned it.
That receipt showed that you replaced carpet in the living room and the dining room. When I moved in, there was only carpet in the living room.
We had to make it look clean.
I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Jones, do you have any other testimony or evidence to offer?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. I am making some notes of the receipts and testimony you offer. I'm ready to enter judgment. The court finds that Ms. Smith paid a security deposit of $700. She moved out and waited 30 days to request the security deposit. Mr. Jones, you did not provide an accounting to Ms. Smith as is required by law. It's good that you learn that from now on. And although you testify, Mr. Jones, that you replaced the carpet, the testimony overwhelmingly shows, and you admit that this carpet was at least 10 years old, and you failed to show the value of a carpet that is 10 years old. You added carpet in areas that were not initially covered when Ms. Smith moved to the house. So the court finds that the carpet was replaced, but that most of the damage was normal wear and tear. The court concludes that Ms. Smith is entitled to the security deposit of $700. If you are dissatisfied, any of you, you can appeal, and you have 10 days to appeal. Thank you.
Thank you.